Hello and welcome. I hope that you have had a ghoulishly good week so far. Over here on Instagram, in our LinkedIn pages on Facebook, we've been talking about all the things that scare entrepreneurs around having a sales conversation. So we've been talking about what can feel really challenging, about how it can feel really stretchy to state your prices or the investment that a client might need to make to be able to work with you or buy one of your products. We've been looking at how leaky boundaries can really impact on your price negotiations and whether you do them or not with your clients. And, we don't want to be negotiating with clients because then we end up working for less than we feel we deserve and resenting the work that we're doing. So it never feels good. But most of all, we've been talking about expertise and how important it is to show up, really owning our expertise and stating our worth. So we get paid what we really genuinely deserve. And also it means that our clients are going to get the best version of us when we do the work. So today we're going to be talking about all those things in our YouTube conversation today. So welcome. It's great to see you. And let's dive straight in. So I want you to imagine that you are about to get on a plane. You're going to jump on a plane, you get yourself settled in, you're going away for a few days, maybe on your own. Maybe that sounds amazing to me. Or maybe with somebody, a friend or your family, whatever it might be, whatever feels good to you. You're getting settled into the plane, you've got your drink, you've got your book or your podcast or whatever it is you're going to watch for the next few hours, settling yourself down. And of course, the pilot comes over the tannoy, just like they do on every flight. But this pilot's saying, okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this flight. We are heading off to Milan. No, actually, I think it's Florence. We're heading to Florence. So everybody on this flight is going to Florence, right? Okay, yep. No, we're not going to Milan. We're definitely going to Florence. So it's going to take us a couple of hours to get there. It's about 4 hours. We're going to be 4 hours. But does anyone need to get there quicker? Because we might be able to jettison some passengers or some luggage and get there a little bit quicker if you need to. Would that be okay? Just let me know. Let me know if that works for you better than the 4 hours that we're scheduled to take. I don't know about you, but at that point, I am going to be unbuckling my belt. I'm going to be gathering up my things as fast as I possibly can, and I'm going to be scurrying off that plane. Now, the reason I'm going to be doing that is because I've lost confidence in the pilot. And I lost confidence because of what he's saying and how he's saying it. Whenever we are interacting with anybody in any kinds of situation, your clients are expecting you in that sales conversation to be the pilot, to safely get them from over here to the point where they have pain and discomfort and they're in the wrong place to over here where it's a bit more like paradise and their problems have been solved and they are doing a lot better in themselves or their business or whatever it might be. So in those sales conversations, you are essentially the pilot. Now, in a normal conversation that a pilot might have over the tonneau with those customers, there's three things that they're doing that help us as passengers on their plane feel relaxed. They're confident, they're owning their expertise, and they are certain. So they're certain that they know where they're going for a start. This is destination, we're here, and we're going to this particular destination. We're not going anywhere else. We're not going via anywhere else. We're not doing anything other than going to the destination that you've paid to get to. So there's a real certainty about how they're communicating. There's definitely a confidence. So there's a confidence that they are going to get you from A to B, that they're going to do it safely, quickly, efficiently, that they are going to manage any difficult weather or turbulence or tricky landings. They're going to be able to manage all of that. And that's manifest in their expertise. So we really want to, whenever we are interacting with anybody in a situation where we are purchasing a service, whether we're purchasing coaching or a product, it doesn't really matter. When we're purchasing anything from anybody, we want to be able to feel like that person is providing us with certainty, with confidence, and with expertise, a sense of expertise. And that comes across in the way they look, the way they sound, and in the words that we're saying. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How when we go into sales conversations, if we're not feeling 100% confident, if we're not feeling our own expertise, if we're not feeling 100% certain, how that impacts on how we communicate with customers and how that can detrimentally impact their willingness to purchase from us. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want that sales conversation to move the relationship forward so that they feel confident to buy from us. Because when we're in those sales conversations, essentially what we're doing is trying to create a situation where that other person can get to know and like us. Because if they get to know and like us, they can trust us. If they trust us, that's when they can spend their time, their energy, and their money with us. So we want to be able to facilitate that. And that can only be facilitated if we're feeling confident, credible, and an expert in the conversation. So I'm going to dive in today about 3 different things that I hear my clients talk about when they are talking about sales conversations. Now, I want to caveat right at the beginning, I am not a sales trainer. I don't do sales training at all, never have, and I never will because it's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is helping human beings connect with other human beings and do it in the most authentic way possible. And I know for lots of women who are in an online business situation, we want to be turning up as ourselves. We want to be authentic in those moments. We don't want to be turning up and feeling like we're trying to be somebody else, or we're trying to use really masculine energy in a sales conversation, or that we're having to try and manipulate or force, because that feels really icky and uncomfortable and is not likely for us to be turning up in our best, the best version of ourselves. So we really want to be using an authentic way of connecting with the other human being. So that's what I'm talking about here today. So how do we use our communication skills to ensure that we're connecting on a real human to human level? So I'm going to talk about 3 things that I hear my clients talk about in terms of connecting with that other person. So the first one is an interesting one. So I have people say to me, well, listen, I'm really consistent on social media. I post every day. I'm on these different platforms. I even show up and do lives now and then, maybe do a video every now and then, but no, I don't really like it. But I'm around, I'm consistent. I have a great product and my clients really like it. I get loads of fantastic testimonials. Surely that's enough, right? I mean, that's enough. People can see what I do. People are, reading my social media. Surely if they want it, they're just going to come and buy it. Now, I think this is a lovely idea. I think it's incredibly wonderful. And if that was the case, then I think there would be a gazillion online businesses which were doing incredible business. But the truth is, at the beginning or even in the life cycle of an online business, we're going to have to work a little bit harder at different points to get those sales coming in. Now, if we are Amy Porterfield and we've created this incredible machine, then that's different. Okay, she's created the machine. She's getting people into her businesses all the time. But for most of us, that's not the case right now. So we need to be having those sales conversations. And that's particularly relevant if you have a product or service that requires a significant investment of time, energy, or money from your clients. And if I think about, and I'm sure if you think about the last time you made a major purchase, which was an investment for you or for your business, one where the number was big enough where you had to kind of go, oh, okay, right, I need to think about that. I need to make sure this is the right thing for me. You didn't do that by looking at a website or reading social media and going, okay, well, I'm going to compare A website with B website. And okay, right, A looks like it's going to do a bit more of what I want it to do. I'm going to go with A. I'm pretty certain that that isn't how you purchased. You would have done due diligence. You would have had a conversation with somebody. You would have had all your questions and worries answered by somebody before making that final decision. Now, you may have done all the due diligence first before the sales conversation. That's very normal and common, but you will have had that sales conversation. And if I think about the last purchase I made, so the biggest purchase I make for my business is my own coaching. So I have a business coach. I went to a workshop she did years ago. Thought it was quite interesting, but wasn't ready to invest at that stage. Listened to her podcast, skulked around on her Instagram, went to a couple of Facebook things, kind of, interacted in a little way. Then something came up and it forced us to interact. And that was really, really interesting. And it was at that point I was like, actually, I would like to have a sales conversation with this person. I did. And in that sales conversation, she asked me some relevant questions, allayed some concerns that I had about investing, because I've been thinking about investing for a little while, but I wasn't sure, allayed some of the fears, answered some questions, pointed out some really interesting things for me. And then that was it. the switch was flipped. And at that point I was like, yes, no, I'm ready to invest. But I needed her to have that. I needed to have that conversation. I needed her to, talk me out of some of the objections that I had. But actually, because they weren't objections about her or the program or the content or any of those things, they were objections about me. They were objections about whether I could be different, whether I could be the person to make the difference, because I wasn't sure about me. So I needed to have that conversation. But if you are thinking, well, I shouldn't really need to sell, and selling's a bit icky and it's masculine energy and it isn't really me and I don't really like it, the chances are you're going to be turning up to those sales conversations using a body posture that isn't going to inspire confidence and certainty and show your expertise to your potential client. So I'm going to tell you about 4 things that I commonly see women doing in sales conversations that undermines their credibility in those moments. And the first one is slumping their spine. So at the moment, I'm sitting nice and tall. If I slump my spine, that's what I look like. So I'm not going to change. I'm going to try not to change my voice, although it's quite hard with a slumped spine. I'm going to try and keep the same energy. But if I have a slumped spine, this is now what I look like. I don't look as expert because I look smaller. I look less credible with this slumped spine. I also look like I don't care, that I'm not that interested, which obviously is not a signal we want to be giving off to our clients. Now, I'm going to sit back up straight so I can breathe properly. The other thing I see is shoulders rolling forward. So I'm wearing a black jumper today, so you can't see it so well. But if I was wearing a different colour, you'd see there's like a little crease here and here. So those shoulders are rolled forward, essentially making myself much smaller. And like I'm a smaller target, like you might not notice me quite as much. It's essentially saying to the other person, it's sending off a signal of, you don't have to pay attention to me because I'm small. You don't need to pay attention. So shoulders rolled forward when we're feeling uncomfortable in a sales conversation, really common. The next one is a combination of the first 2, and it's about sitting on their hands. So I'm going to sit on my hands now, and you can see what happens. It both slumps my spine and pulls my shoulders forward, and it makes me look smaller. And if you could see, you can't see on this video, but if you could see more of me, I would look a little more childlike. Kids sit on their hands all the time. It doesn't inspire credibility. It doesn't inspire confidence. And you certainly don't look certain in this situation. So sitting on hands is really common. And then the final one is fidgeting. So I'm going to fidget. So this is what I see people doing, is kind of moving from their weight from side to side if they're sitting down. If they were standing up, they've been moving their weight from foot to foot. So we get this sort of swaying action. And I commonly see this, sometimes there's a little bit of a rocking forwards and backwards. I commonly see this at 2 points. One, when you have to introduce yourself and explain why you're the expert that you are. And number 2, when you have to say your price. You have to say the number. And, I'm going to stop swaying because you're probably feeling quite car sick by now. It doesn't matter whether that number's 1, 5, 50,000, 10,000, 100,000. It doesn't matter what the number is. All of us will have a stretchy number. There's always, for all of us, a number that's kind of like, oh, that feels big. And if that's how it feels to say your number, your body language will demonstrate that. So the rocking, the swaying from side to side is it's an effort to comfort ourselves. Just like we were comforted as babies, that rocking motion, we're doing it to ourselves to make ourselves feel better. Now, what it does to your client is it just demonstrates uncertainty. So if you are slumped spine, rolled shoulders forward, sitting on your hands, or swaying, it's demonstrating to your client that you're not certain to say your prices. You're not certain of the outcome. If you go back to that pilot, you're not certain of the destination. And it gets very hard for your client to know, like, and trust you. So they pull back from the investment because they're uncertain. So it means that if this is happening regularly in your business, you've probably got a little bit of an up and down profit margin or revenue stream, or it's on the decline because you're avoiding those sales conversations. If it's on the decline, it's probably because you were avoiding the conversations because you didn't feel you had to do them, or you ought to be doing them, or you didn't want to do them. and then you felt bad because you didn't do a great job, and then you layered that feeling bad on top of not really wanting doing it, and then layered a bit more feeling bad on top of it. And so we start to avoid it properly, really avoid those sales conversations, and then it starts to have a detrimental effect on our bottom line. So feeling like we shouldn't have to sell, or that selling is icky or a very masculine thing, is really going to impact on our body language. And that is going to make it difficult for our clients to feel certain that they can invest in us. The second thing that I hear women commonly saying is, I can't charge that much. That's way too much money. I'm not expert enough to be able to do that. And this usually happens when we are still stuck in the mindset of we can only really charge by the hour. So we're not thinking about the transformation that we were offering our clients. So when we get on that plane and we fly off to wherever we're flying to, the pilot is not charging, or the company, the airline is not charging us by hour to get us there. They're charging us for the transformation, which is why flying to Birmingham costs a lot less than flying to the Maldives, because the transformation is huge. It's much bigger if we're flying to the Maldives. We're having a completely different experience. So sometimes when we're still in that charging for our hours mindset, or we're not really thinking about the transformation that we're offering clients, it can feel like we have to keep our prices, or the investment that our clients are going to have to make, we need to keep them low. And once we start to increase them, we can start to feel really, really uncomfortable. And, we can get beaten down on price if we're still in this mindset. We can, find ourselves, with clients saying, well, I don't want that bit, and I don't need this bit over here because I've already got that. I just want that bit over there. So can I just pay you a third of the cost? And maybe we say yes, and maybe we say no, and it all feels really, really uncomfortable. But when we're in that mindset, it can be really, really difficult to say the price really comfortably and confidently that we believe that our product, our transformation, is genuinely worth. And also we can get a bit of comparisonitis. So it's very easy to sit there and go, well, gosh, she's been over there. She's been doing it for years and she's amazing. I've seen some of her stuff. It's incredible. No wonder she's charging those prices. I can't possibly do that. So we get a bit of a comparisonitis. And so we feel like we can get ourselves a little bit stuck with that particular number. Now, if that's the case, there's a very common symptom that will leak out at this point, and it's to do with your voice. And two things can happen here. One, your voice becomes disembodied, and I'm going to demonstrate what that is in a minute. And two, you start using upspeak, and I'm going to demonstrate that too. So the first thing is the disembodied voice. So I've been talking to you using my embodied voice up until this point. So I'm hoping that you can hear my voice is coming out of my body. And it hopefully sounds relatively rich. It doesn't sound too high or too low. It sort of sounds about right for my body size and shape. But if I start to feel anxious about stating my price, the energy is going to move up in my body and my voice is going to become disembodied. So it starts to sound like it's only coming out of my head. So it's really it's a much higher pitch, much lighter, much thinner. It's audible and it's crisp and it's clear, but I don't sound like the expert I sounded like a minute ago. So I don't know any more now than I knew a couple of seconds ago, but I sound like I do. So very common when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling nervous about stating our prices, that our voices become disembodied. And so we don't sound like the expert. And then our clients will move into the sort of slightly unsure state. It's like, well, I don't know, I thought she was really good at this, but I'm just not sure now. And they won't quite know why, but they'll feel a little bit uncertain. Now, when it comes to actually stating the price, if we're using that disembodied voice and we then layer on the top of that upspeak, which is when our intonation goes up when we're making a statement, so it sounds like a question, then that's going to push our clients over into, I'm really uncertain now. I don't think I want to invest. So say your price was £3,000 for your product or your service or whatever it might be. You say, it's £3,000? It sounds like a question. And so, for your strong customers and potential clients, they're going to start to negotiate because that sounds like you're saying, is it okay? Do you mind paying £3,000? For the clients who are unsure about the service or their ability to transform themselves, or that the product you're offering or the service you're offering will transform their issue, if you use upspeak when you state your price, it is going to sound like uncertainty to them, and they're going to take another step back. So if we are uncomfortable stating the price for our product or service, and we're disembodying our voice and we're using upspeak, the chances of our clients converting into sales gets lower, for absolutely certain, because we're not sounding certain, we're not sounding confident, and we're not sounding like an expert, which are the three things your clients really want from a sales conversation. Now, the third thing that I often hear women saying is like, well, if I charge that much money, number one, client's going to say no. And number two, I'm going to look and sound a bit like an a-hole. So there's a couple of responses here. Yes, clients are going to say no. This is a good thing. And I had it happen to me recently. I was on a sales conversation, and I was in my sales conversations, I do a laser coaching section. So I was coaching this lady. She was very reluctant to be coached. She was telling me all the reasons why it wasn't going to work for her, how it was different in her industry, how she was already doing the thing that I was telling her or suggesting that she does, but she wasn't demonstrating it at that moment. So I was finding it a little bit difficult. I used all my clever coaching tricks and tactics, and it still wasn't working. But she wanted to know about the products, so I told her about the products and services that I offered. And at the time, I was like, I don't really want to be having this conversation because I don't think we're a good fit. But she asked, and I told her about them. And then she asked how much they were, at which point she put her hands on her desk and she went, how much? You charge how much? And I was like, oh, okay, great. We are not a good fit because she's not ready to invest that kind of money in herself or in me. That is great. That's fine. That's perfect. So actually your number, whatever your number might be, works as a filter for getting people into your business that you want to be working with. I have other women who go, yep, great, lovely. Where do I sign? So those are the women that I know that are ready to invest in themselves and invest in me. So it's a much better working relationship. So this is good. Now, when it comes to being an a-hole bit, I ask my clients, like, well, are you an a-hole now? And if you charge that much money, will it turn you into an a-hole? No. The answer is generally no. If you're still watching this video after, 22 minutes, you are not the kind of individual who is going to become an a-hole. You're just not. You have a heart-centered business. You're delivering good things to your clients. You're doing it with the best will. It's just not going to happen if you start charging more money. What you're going to get is women or people who are coming into your business who want to work with you, who absolutely want to be part of your universe, your world, who want to have the product or service that you are offering to their solution. And if we go into a situation where we're having to have a sales conversation and we're thinking, oh, they're going to think that I'm really big-headed or I'm really arrogant if I say I'm this much money, or you've got to wait that long to work with me, then we're going to go back to avoiding, which is what we were discussing right back at the beginning of the video, or we're going to do it with a disembodied voice and we're going to say, yeah, it's £5,000, and we know that maybe they were working with us last year and it was half that price, or it was £3,000 as opposed to £5,000, and it can feel really clunky and uncomfortable. Now, unless we've done the work, unless we've done the mindset work to say, no, this is the value, this is the transformation I'm offering, this is where my expertise lie, so this is what I'm offering. And the communication symptom that we're going to see here is hedging language. So we start to say the ifs, the buts, the maybes, the justs, the actuallys, the probablys, the mights, when we don't need them. And so again, we don't sound certain, we don't sound credible. So there are many situations in a sales conversation that will, if you're not thinking the things that are going to really support you, are really going to support your expertise and going to support the client on their journey, they're going to really impact on the credibility that you deliver in your sales conversations and the confidence you have in yourself. So remember, your clients are looking for credibility and certainty, confidence, and they are looking for expertise. So we want to be demonstrating that in our body language, in the voice that we use and in the language that we're using. So the symptoms that we might see if we're not feeling those things is diminished body language, so making ourselves smaller, maybe fidgeting and rocking. A disembodied voice will suggest that we're not certain about ourselves. Upspeak suggests we're not certain about the price that we are stating. And if we're feeling uncomfortable about stating those prices, we might avoid sales conversations, or we start to use that disembodied voice, as well as hedging language, which would suggest that we're not 100% certain that we can provide exactly what we've said we're going to provide for our clients, or at least that's what they're going to think. We still do and can provide amazing services, but it just won't sound like it. So there are 3 things that you can do as an entrepreneur, which will really help you step into that space of certainty, step into that space of being an expert and look and sound confident. So the first one is, and this isn't going to come up as much as a surprise because I've mentioned it a few times today, but it's owning your expertise, really owning your expertise. Now, I'm not going to have time to go into how you do that here because it's a longer process than we have available. But essentially, you need to start to think about all the things that you are an expert in and why your clients want to be working with you and the kinds of transformations you're really going to offer and how you feel about your expertise. Because unless we start to really own our expertise, unless I asked you, could you stand up in a group of peers and say, I'm an expert in whatever your zone of genius is, and I'm really good at this. I can really do this. I can really do that. I can make a difference when. If you can't do that comfortably and confidently, or the thought of that makes you at all squeamish, the chances are that that is coming out in your body language, your language, and your voice when you're talking to clients. So first things first, foundation stone, start owning that expertise. The second and more practical thing you can do is breathe, and breathe deeply. So when we're anxious about stating our prices or having sales conversations or saying no to clients, whatever it might be, the chances are is that energy is going to rise up in our body. And so our breathing becomes a bit more shallow. And a few things happen here. One, it becomes really difficult for you to think clearly and articulate what it is you really want to say. Number 2, you start to feel anxious. Number 3, your clients will feel anxious and not know why, because they're watching you breathe in a shallow fashion and their body's going to respond in the same way and they start to feel anxious. And that's when they start to pull away from the sale. And then the third, and again, this is a practical thing, it's about using direct language. So it can feel really stretchy to talk about our expertise, to talk about the transformations we offer our clients, and to talk about the money. So I want you to go away and I want you to think about what are the truths that I can say about myself as an expert, about the business, about the service, about the product, about my coaching, whatever it might be. What can you say that is absolute truth? Because if you can say those things, if you can write those things down and then say them, the chances are you're going to say them in a very direct fashion. So you're not going to use hedging language and you're not going to use a rising tone of voice. You're going to say them as statements of fact, but they've got to feel like statements of fact. So we're not, this is not about marketing. This is not about spin here. This is what is absolute truth. So I could say to you, 50% of the women that go through my influential training program come out the other side finding a better job for themselves. That's absolutely true. That's what the statistics say. So they go out of the program and they get a better job, which pays more and they feel really reflects their expertise. I could tell you that 77% of people who go through my The Art of a Great Pitch, Selling Yourself and Your Ideas, come out the other side scaling themselves at 8, 9 and 10 out of 10 in terms of confidence. That's truth. That's what the statistics say. So have a think, what is true for you? What is true in your business about you, about the results you get, about your product, about the transformation, about the bits that go on around all of that, the sort of aftercare or the pre-care and the aftercare sales. What's true? What's true about coming into maybe your Facebook group and how people are supported within there? Think about all the things that make your product, your service, your whatever it is, your program, a real expert program, and write those things down. Because if you could say them as truths, you will sound far more expert. You'll sound far more certain, and you know that they're truths. They're not marketing spin. So those are the 3 things that I would really recommend to help you look and sound more certain, more confident, and more like an expert going into a sales conversation. So own your expertise, breathe deeply, and work out what are the facts that you can say that will make you look and sound like the expert that you are, and genuinely offer the transformation you offer to the client. I trust that you found today's video helpful. I love talking about this. Anything to do with selling and pitching and selling ourselves and selling our ideas and having really fruitful, genuine, authentic conversations with clients, I love talking about. So if you are interested to find out where you are on a scale of I'm hiding, I don't want to have sales conversations, to I'm doing this really, really well, I'm an expert listener, I'm talking less than I am listening, I'm asking really pertinent questions, and I'm holding the space for my client, where you are on a scale between there and hiding. If you want to know that, do take our scaling form. It's a really quick questionnaire, take you a couple of minutes, and you'll get a very in-depth personalized email giving you some ideas, some tips, some tricks on what to do next, on how to move yourself up the scale to the more positive end. Take care, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye for now.